Pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. Thank you. Tonight's a special meeting to discuss the cell tower. Now, you know the public hearing has closed, so we did have a meeting, so I guess I don't want to discuss the meeting. I'm going to open a public hearing. So make a motion that the public hearing be open. Second. All in favor?
Aye.
Okay. We had a meeting last Wednesday afternoon at the building department with our attorney, Mr. Rod, Mr. Garduso, gentleman from Homeland Towers, and Mr. Fadden. Purpose of the meeting was discussed to see if we could find another site that may be more suitable from the neighbor's view, basically. That was the most. The site they have is legal as far as setback and all like that. There's no question about the setback. Homeland Towers, actually, they're under a pretty big restriction because a lot of the property Mr. Fadden naturally wants to develop and build homes on. And there's some other locations that we discussed. One in particular was on the other side of the property, which would be away from the residential area. And but Mr. Fadden felt that he would be able to see that from his house, so he rejected that. We talked about putting it up on top of the hill, because I thought that would be a better location, but then I found out from Homeland that actually it wasn't a better location for them on top of the hill. But it didn't make any difference because Mr. Fadden didn't want to look at it on top of the hill, so by his home. So they come up with an alternative location. I gave the board members, Mr. Garduso emailed it to me.
We actually brought some.
Well, that's okay, yeah.
Like it.
Oh,
No, it gets decided here. So I emailed everybody and added, and so they had a chance to look at it. When I discussed it with you guys, and you guys were very cooperative, Homeland Towers, but you were under a great restriction. I could see the restriction you were under. I went on over the weekend, I looked at it, and I know you had asked for a straw poll. Mr. Garduso asked for a straw poll because he said that he didn't want to go any further with it if the board wasn't interested in it. He didn't want to put any more resources in it, which I understood. So I went and I looked at the property, and I walked it again, and I looked at both locations. And as far as the straw poll, for my opinion, the alternative is not going to work. The other site, actually, proposed site is better, from what I saw. So I asked for a straw poll. My straw poll is that we don't continue on that, and we stay with the original location. Mr. Sistone?
Oh, I agree. I agree 100%.
Mr. Enza? Lenny?
I'll agree.
Yes, I agree also.
and I agree.
All right. So as far as that goes, that's the end of that site. It was a good try, but it's just the other one actually was a better site. Okay, this time I ask to make a motion to close the public hearing.
I make that motion.
All in favor?
Aye.
Public hearing is closed. All right. This time I'm going to ask the Conservation Board. Do you have a decision on your wetlands permit?
If we understand it correctly, it's the original site. All of our
Yes.
issues with the crossing of the wetland and the buffer still stand. The other things that we mentioned last time are just advisory in nature, and that's it. I believe that we're in the position that we feel that we would vote no. But I would like to hear everybody else's opinion. Are we still of that mind? Based on the fact that we would have to cross a wetland and there is no alternative site being presented, no reasonable one.
Yeah, I mean, I know I would vote no.
I would also vote no.
No.
No. No.
Okay, that's the wetlands permit. Now, as far as the,
I'm sorry, can I just ask for clarification? You said-
no, that's
you
the vote.
would vote no.
Right.
Did you just
But-
vote
Did you vote no?
Let's clarify.
I'll
Can I
make
have?
a
Can I have a?
motion
There
to
you go.
deny the permit as it stands with the existing location.
Do we
And
have-
I'll second that.
All in favor? Aye.
Okay. Now I'm going to ask for a roll call vote on as far as the permit for the special use permit. This time I'm going to call on Mr. Sistone.
As far as this application, I spent the past month going over the documents and that were submitted by Homeland Towers Appeal. During my review, I couldn't help but feel that I was missing something. Then it came to me. Towers is using software to generate maps and propagation predictions. Being a software engineer, there's two things that you need when you use software. What are your assumptions, and what are the parameters used in the software? After going back and reviewing the documents once again, I could not find that information anywhere on any of the documents. This means we have no idea how the software was set up and run. We all know that depending on how you make your assumptions and put in your parameters, you can get software to say just about anything. Just look at the hurricane season and all the models that were out there and how they were all over the place. I'm not saying that any deception was done. What I am saying, without reviewing the assumptions, parameters, we can't make an informed decision about the information that was provided. So based on the lack of clear information explaining how the software was set up, I discount the propagation maps and the predictions because we just don't know how they were set up. The second thing that we were looking at were the housing values. Looking at the document that was submitted, it was basically a list of houses with some basic information and a price. There weren't any pictures. There wasn't any analysis. There was none of that was done. So I took the document and I went to look at one of the houses in Philipstown. And I went to the property, stood on the lawn, leaves are off the trees, and I look around. For the life of me, I couldn't see a cell tower. And I know where the towers are in this town, and I couldn't see it. So based on the lack of information, lack of the visuals and appraisal documents and any kind of analysis, that document and also I discount as not providing any useful information. You know, I have some firsthand experience with the pricing of houses that are in direct contact with cell towers, not ones that are a distance away, because that's debatable, but when they're directly in contact, they can have a devastating effect on the price of the house. And the example that I use is the Garrison Greenhouse cell tower and the adjoiner right next to it. I happen to know the owner who was selling his house. The cell tower was there. He was telling me some of the problems he had. He had people coming to his property, not even getting out of the car and leaving, and just leaving. In the end, he ended up dropping the price tens of thousands of dollars, and in his own words, losing a lot of money on it. I don't want to see that happening to other people in Philipstown. So now, what do we know? Our RF engineer, after reviewing the project and evaluating the McKeel's Corner cell site, stated that the McKeel's Corner site was raised. It would provide adequate coverage for the area identified with a weak signal. I would be agreeable to reviewing that. Also, what do we know? Almost all the residents in the area provided affidavits stating that they have good coverage within the target area. This has provided possibly thousands of data points of statistical significance that can be used to do future analysis. And then I have my own experience. I drive on 301 almost every day for years, and I've never lost a connection on that site. So what am I saying? What I find is that the adjoining houses, closely located with clear view of the proposed tower, would have devastating impact on their house values. I also believe that there is not a significant low signal area on 301 from Route 9 to Putnam Valley border. I believe that the McKeel's Corners would be more than adequate to meet Verizon's need if the height was raised. So my finding is that Homeland Towers has not provided enough significant information to prove their need under the zoning code 175.6. In addition to that, I feel that they did not provide sufficient information in support of the 1996 Telecommunication Act either. So therefore, I vote against the cell tower.
Mr. Francis?
I vote to approve it.
I'm sorry?
I vote yes.
You vote to approve the,
The permit.
I'll vote next, I guess. In making my decision, I refer to the Town of Philipstown zoning code. The town board revised the code in June of 2011. Communications tower regulations are in section 175-46. There are approximately 16 pages regarding cell towers. 175-46A explains the purpose of these regulations. I'd like to read that. The purpose of this section is to promote the health, safety, and general welfare of the residents of the town of Philipstown, to preserve the scenic, historic, natural, and man-made character and appearance of the town while simultaneously providing standards for the safe provision, monitoring, and removing of wireless telecommunications, consistent with applicable federal and state regulations, to minimize the total number of communications towers in a community by encouraging shared use of existing and future towers and the use of existing tall buildings and other high structures, to minimize adverse visual effects from communications towers by requiring careful siting and configuration, visual impact assessment, and appropriate landscaping, to provide a procedural basis for action within a reasonable period of time for request for authorization to place, construct, to modify, to operate and modify communications tower, to encourage camouflaging communications towers. I consider the necessity of the tower. Homeland states there is a gap in services in this area, and the tower is a necessity. Homeland Towers states the gap is not in vehicle coverage, but residential coverage. At no time has a representative of Verizon attended one meeting in this 6-month period. At no time has this board received a letter from Verizon stating a gap exists. Verizon is currently located on the McKeel's Tower. If this gap that Homeland Tower claims exists, why has Verizon not approached Crown Castle, the leaseholder, and McKeel's to correct any problem, which our engineer, Mr. Meekes, and the applicant's RF engineer, Mr. Freehand, both agree that McKeel's Corners Tower raised would be a better option than Vineyard without the Nelsonville Tower. This would eliminate the need for not only the Vineyard Tower, but also for the Nelsonville Tower. At the December public hearing, a number of residents who would be affected by the Vineyard Tower stated they have Verizon services and have not experienced dropped calls. To support their claim, they produced legal affidavits. Barbara Barbarosso, Putnam County Planner, and RF engineer Meekes Associates have stated that Verizon and Homeland Towers have failed to prove a gap in service. The residents of the area of the proposed tower have submitted legal affidavits that they have had Verizon service for years and had not experienced any dropped calls. I agree with our RF engineer, Mr. Meekes, and the Putnam County Planner. The applicant has failed to prove that there is a substantial gap in service in the area to support a new cell tower, less than 1 mile from an existing tower. Testimony has been given by the applicant due to the short distance. Verizon could not operate on both towers because of the interference in the signal. The board's December meeting learned that McKeel's Corners cell tower is not going to be eliminated, and other cell service providers located on this tower will remain. Also, if there is any doubt Verizon has a gap in service, Verizon has a solution that both RF engineers agree, which is to raise the existing McKeel's tower. Section 175-46D, subsection 1, states, information establishing the present need for the proposed tower. Special permits are to be based on the actual need and not on a speculation of future needs. Verizon, being a co-applicant, has not submitted any evidence that they have approached Crown Castle, the owner of McKeel's Corners Towers, in regards to a gap in service. I believe the new proposed cell tower submitted by the applicant is not an actual need, but is being proposed by Homeland Towers on the speculation of future needs, which is a violation of this code. Alternative sites. The zoning board and the town board offered the town landfill at 59 Lane Gate Road as an alternative site. This is the same site that Homeland Towers approached the town board several years ago in order to put up a tower, but now they state it does not work for them. The zoning board offered the possibilities of raising the McKeel's Corners Towers. Our RF engineer, Menkes Associates, states in his report dated December 21st, 2017, that the existing McKeel's Corners site with a 190-foot tower is a better choice based on offered coverage. The applicant's RF engineer and Mr. A. Feehan agrees with the conclusion and is recorded as November 30th, 2017 RF report, which states, based solely on area of coverage provided by the two options, Mr. Menkes is correct in concluding that the existing site is the better choice without Nelsonville. This board has no voice in the Nelsonville Tower, but this could possibly eliminate the need for the Nelsonville Tower. There is another alternative site, a second tower at McKeel's Corner. Section 175-46, Section F, Subdivision A, states, where shared use of structures or existing or approved communications tower is found to be impractical, applicants shall also investigate the possibility of constructing a new communications tower on property occupied by the existing communications tower, in accordance with subdivision Section D, the above. In such case, the ZBA may allow more than one tower on a lot. At a public hearing, Mrs. Myers, owners of the property McKeel's Corner, states that there is a piece of property available for a second tower, which she agrees the tower may be installed on same. Homeland Towers has submitted no evidence regarding any conversations with Ms. Myers regarding installing a second tower, and is in violation of this section. Aesthetics. The Vineyard Road site is 64 acres bordering on commercial area, off Route 9, and continuing east towards the residential area. The proposed tower is 200 feet from the residential area. The other 63 acres of available land is closer to Route 9. This area would be better aesthetically. Several other sites that would be better aesthetically have been presented by the board, but have been rejected by the applicant. Visual impacts. Section 175-46I, subsection 8 states, towers must be placed to minimize visual impacts. Applicants shall place towers on a side slope of terrain so that as much as possible, the top of the tower does not protrude over the ridgeline, as seen from public ways. The proposed tower in this section would be a violation of this section because of simulated photos and actual photos of the balloon test showing the tower will be visible in public ways, Route 9 and Route 301. Photos presented by the applicant and local residents show the top of the tower will be visible over the tree line to residents on Round Hill Road, Rockwall Road, and White Rocks Lane. Property values. The applicant's attorney has stated reduction of property values cannot be considered in the board's decision, but the applicant has introduced into evidence an extensive report from Lane Appraisals in which 12 cell tower locations are evaluated, 5 in Westchester County, 3 in Rockland County, 2 in Orange County, 1 in Patterson, and 1 in Philipstown. They indicate home sales. However, it does not compare home sale prices before and after the tower has been installed. Mr. Gorvick of 60 Round Hill Road, one of the residential homes that will have a direct view of the Vineyard Road Tower, has introduced into evidence several reports from local real estate brokers. Limited Editions Realty of Cold Spring, New York. Robert McCaffrey, owner of McCaffrey Realty. Houlihan Lawrence and Sotheby Realty. I will just read one from Limited Realty. This is from Limited Realty, 10 Marion Avenue, Cold Spring, New York, and it's signed by Patrick O'Sullivan, licensed broker. Dear Callie and Roger, thank you for the opportunity to evaluate your home on June 1st and June 27th, 2017, for the purpose of ascertaining a fair market value. The purpose of the valuation is to determine the value of your home for a cell tower were to be erected on a contiguous property and said tower was to be in your view shed. After visiting your home on 21 June, when no balloon testing was being conducted, and also on June 27th, when the balloon testing was done, I find that there would be significant evaluation to the value of your home with the tower being erected. In my opinion, you would have a minimum of 30% devaluation of your property if the tower was erected. I've attached photos taken on both days to confirm my observations. And there's 3 or 4 other letters say the same thing, anywhere between 25 to 30% loose in property evaluations. For the many reasons stated and the explanations of same, I vote no in granting the special use permit located at 50 Vineyard Road, applicant Homeland Towers. I'm going to call now on Ms. Claire.
Okay, regarding aesthetics, the homes on 60 Round Hill Road and the homes on Rock Walled Road will not only have a view of the cell tower at close proximity, but will also have a view of an industrial cell tower pad measuring over 4,000 square feet, which in addition to the tower consists of storage sheds, a generator, and pervious surface. This is not the view enjoyed at these homes over their many years of occupancy, and I believe that no rural homeowner would find that industrial view either pleasing or acceptable. It is my opinion that the installation of the proposed cell tower at Vineyard Road will greatly interfere with the homeowner's enjoyment of their property. Necessity. Philipstown, a community with 9,000 inhabitants, currently has 9 cell towers, including a tower at McKeel's Corners located in Philipstown on Grey Rock Road, which is 0.8 of a mile away from the proposed tower on Vineyard Road. That's 1 tower for every 1,000 people. Homeland Towers and Verizon had originally informed us that to effectively deploy the proposed cell tower, it will be necessary to take down the existing cell tower at McKeel's Corners to avoid interference between the 2 cell tower signals. In December 2017, they informed us that, in fact, only the Verizon antenna would be removed from McKeel's Corners, and that the existing tower would remain there as well, thus increasing the Philipstown cell tower count to 10. In addition, there are 2 more cell towers proposed within Philipstown, which, if approved, would increase the cell tower count to 12. The board proposed an alternative to 50 Vineyard Road, which is increasing the height of the cell tower at McKeel's Corners. Our RF engineer, H.E. Menkes, has informed us that this arrangement will be more effective in providing cell coverage than the proposed tower at 50 Vineyard Road. We had also offered several alternative sites at the Philipstown landfill, at 59 Lane Gate Road. In addition, we had stated we would be amenable to a commercial location on Route 9 away from all residences. In view of these less detrimental alternatives and the better coverage enabled elsewhere, it is my opinion that the proposed cell tower at 50 Vineyard Road is unnecessary. It should also be noted that to date, Putnam County has not approved this cell tower because the county has concluded that it has not received adequate evidence from the applicant to prove a significant gap in service. Property values. Philipstown is a community that, by design, maintains a non-industrialized rural atmosphere. That is stated in the Philipstown Comprehensive Plan, which was completed within the last 10 years. To further clarify the town's mindset on this point, it should be noted that the town has not approved any large retail project since it is felt that this would interfere with our rural atmosphere. In large part, people move here to enjoy this style of living. To say that a nearby industrial pad and/or cell tower within the view of one's home does not affect its property value is questionable in any community, but especially in Philipstown. These industry additions are an abomination because here our rural atmosphere is a significant factor in property desirability and thus valuation. The houses that would be affected by the proposed cell tower have heretofore enjoyed this rural atmosphere, and the installation of this cell tower would constitute a significant adverse change in their home environment view and property value. The real estate study provided by the applicant is flawed, in my opinion, for several reasons. Number one, it does not show before and after the cell tower valuation on the homes it references. It does not provide information on any other factors other than selling price and square feet. Factors that should have been included, in my opinion, are the condition of the home and total acreage of the property. The homes in the study reference in Philipstown are not, well, there's only one, are not near the tower, and either the tower cannot be seen from that home, or if there is some view, it is so far away that it is not a factor in home value. Therefore, these home valuations are not relevant to a nearby cell tower. Gap in service. Philipstown has received affidavits from 18 residents in the alleged gap area who have had Verizon as their carrier for 20 years or more and have made thousands of calls on their cell phones and attest to the fact that they have had no problems in their cell phone service. Our RF engineer has produced a report using data originating from PureCon Solutions. In this report, he states there is no gap in service in the alleged deficiency area. In addition, several Philipstown residents, including Paul Eldridge and Joel Cooper and others, have driven the alleged gap area with their Verizon cell phones on from beginning to end and experienced no dropped calls or interruption of calls along this route. Lastly, we have asked Verizon to give us a listing of dropped calls from the alleged gapped area, which they originally refused to do so, stating this was proprietary property. They did give us something last meeting, but frankly, I find it not clear in terms of what it is purporting to state, and I don't feel that is a reasonable response. And lastly, I concur with our chairman, Robert D., that this cell tower does not meet the standards of the Philipstown Zoning Code 17546 for the reasons already outlined in his presentation. Therefore, I'm voting no on this proposed cell tower at 50 Vineyard Road.
Okay, Mr. Lim.
My co-board members already covered everything I would like to have covered, except for one or two little other items. First of all, I've never seen 3 towers in a 3-mile radius on one road. There's actually 3 towers. And I was on the board in the 90s when we put the Schubert Tower in. And back then, I was told, because I went back and looked at the records, that we had coverage all the way past 301 from the county line. I don't see anything that's changed at all. I'm voting no.
To review the vote, roll call vote. Oh. He voted yes. He voted.
Oh, you voted yes?
Review the roll call vote. Mr. Sistone was a no. Mr. Lim was a no. Ms. Claire was a no. Mr. D was a no. And Mr. Forenza was a yes. So that's 4 against and 1 in favor. So therefore, the special use permit is denied. Make a motion. Make a motion that we.
Mr. Chairman, I would just ask in addition that you make a motion directing council to prepare a formal resolution memorializing the findings of the board.
I'll make that motion. All in favor? Aye. I make a motion to meeting is adjourned.
Second?
All in favor?
Aye.
Thank you.
With that resolution,